Oh, those moments when light suddenly shines on what would otherwise be just an ordinary thought or event. Something happens, we pay attention, something else follows, and that becomes the next paragraph or chapter in the story of our life. Leave every restroom you go into cleaner than you found it, the S-trainer said. And for 35 years, I've enjoyed the satisfaction several times a week, actually, that comes from a job well done. And knowing I've made life a little bit better for the next person. Unless, of course, that next person also took the S-train and, like me, was looking forward to the mess lying in wait behind the restroom door. On the floor next to me, there's at least a 10-sheet length of toilet paper. How did it get there? It must have flown. I lean over, pick it up, and drop it very carefully between my legs into the toilet. I promised you I'd say something about toilet paper itself. We could have a whole discussion about whether it should come off the roll from the lower back or the upper front. But tonight, here's what we have to talk about. This toilet paper isn't free to come off the roll at all. It's a new roll, and so there's work to be done. Two-ply tissue, as we know, always makes the job harder. How to get that first sheet unstuck without creating a ragged mess. I maneuver my index finger in and discover I've gotten under only the first of the two plies. And already I've created some unsightly and wasteful tearing. This is a job for a fingernail. I get under the second ply and wiggle in until I've got a good enough purchase to tear through one of the early perforations. I realize I've been holding my breath all this time, and simply realizing it leads me to take a breath, either that or a dangerous buildup of carbon dioxide in my lungs. Freedom has been achieved, let alone now having enough paper to wipe. The pale green porcelain sink I see is spotted with water. So I pull down a paper towel, wipe the sink dry, and here's a new one even for me. With the towel, I find myself shining up the faucet, whose elegant curve is now inviting my attention. I'm happy to find that my coffee is still warm. And with no excuse left not to write, I discover in the writing a truth, capital T, that none of this would have happened in quite the same way if I'd walked down to the novel. Not that what happened here at Pete's was necessarily better or worse, who can say? Yes, confronted with a blank page at the novel, I would have had to pee. Yes, I would have left the restroom better than I found it. But would anything there have caught my attention enough to be telling you about it tonight? Believe me, I've left hundreds of restrooms better than I found them. Peeing career. And this is the first time I've ever told an audience about it. All I know for sure is that whatever happened there would have had its own consequences, which means that everything else from that point on would have been different. The rest of the day, the rest of my life, eternity. What catches our attention sets us in motion, and out of that the rest of our lives unfold, each moment opening out into the next. All those choices we make, all that control we think we have, really? Did I choose to go to Pete's that day? How did I happen to be on Main Street anyway? Why not the Starbucks on Lincoln? And what is it that led to my love of coffee shops in the first place? I like it this way. This way of seeing my life right now as a gift of moments past, some of which will remain forever unknown to me. It leads me to appreciate my mother for walking in the park with me that winter day. Yes, for years afterwards I was scared of walking on ice, but maybe that's what led me to marry Matt, a natural athlete who taught me to love skiing. It leads me to see what a bargain that $250 was for the S training. Even if hundreds of restroom experiences was all I ever got. Of course, that wasn't all I ever got. One day at UCLA Hospital, where I've come to visit someone, the elevator door opens, I step in, it's just me and a man in a white coat, and my eye makes a beeline for the piece of wadded up paper someone dropped on the floor. Come on, Sarah, this isn't a restroom. Have you heard of janitors? And what's that man in the white coat going to think? I check out his name tag, and when I'm sure he isn't a psychiatrist, I bend down and pick the paper, which leads him to do one of those elevator things. Suddenly, the ceiling is of inordinate interest. The door opens and I step out of his life. Did that man ever go on to pick up a stray piece of paper in an elevator, in a restroom, on a sidewalk? What were the consequences of our meeting that day? What will be the consequences of you and me having found ourselves together tonight? Despite what you think, this isn't a sales pitch for picking up restrooms. I want there to be something left for me to do. So what is the point? As hard as I've tried, I've never been very good at wrapping things up into pretty packages. Christmas certainly reminds me of that. Is it to pay attention? Yeah. Be there as one thing leads to another? Yeah. Like it all the time? I don't think so. Accept it as the mysterious unfolding of a unique life? That sounds right. There's a little song I'd like to leave you with, and I can't tell you exactly why, but I'm willing to bet somehow it's related to what we've been talking about. Maybe later you'll tell me how. Take me out to the ball game, take me out with the crowd by me. Some peanuts and Cracker Jack, I don't care. If I never get back, let me root, 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 root for the home team, for it's a shame if they don't win, for it's 1, 2, 3 strikes. You're out at the old ball game.